Hey everybody, Tom here with Hidden Beats, and today we are talking with Danielle from Dear Rouge. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
It's the pleasure of mine for sure. Like I was just saying, I just seen
Good.
you live, and I was excited when you came across my email desk there, and thought it'd be a nice, fun
Awesome.
conversation.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we're here today to talk about you, about the band, about your music, and kind of just what you guys do in the world. But for those who might be new, can you give a little introduction about yourself?
My name is Danielle McTaggart. I'm the lead singer of Dear Rouge, which is a band out of Vancouver. It's me and my husband. We started probably about 10 years ago now, which is crazy to say because it feels like a flash. But it's been incredible. We first came out through a contest actually called the Peak Performance Project. We won first, and that kind of launched our career. Our first single was called I Heard I Had, and then we had songs like Black to Gold. And it's just been such an amazing journey. We got to go on the Junos and perform there and won a Breakout Artist of the Year. So lots of really cool milestones. And now we're here releasing our fourth album coming up this year and a new single on March 8th.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's a good enough recap for you, but yeah, the
That,
band's called Dear Rouge, and we're stoked to be doing music as a career. How crazy is that? It's the
mm-hmm.
best job ever.
Yeah, that's a nice kind of overarching, band and group dynamic there.
Quick kind of play by play.
Mm-hmm.
It's been amazing because Drew and I both had our day jobs, and then we're like, let's just go for music with all the gusto we have in us, and uh, and we had just recently got married and quit our day jobs and decided to go after music after we won the contest, and it's just been such an awesome ride.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Now, recently I saw there was a TikTok that you had posted from you were going over the Yeah Yeah Yeahs It's Blitz album kind of as the starting point of your sound of Dear Rouge.
Yeah.
What really from that did you draw on as an influence?
Oh gosh, like I just think Karen O is incredible. Her stage presence, the overall vibe of the performance, but in the music, it just like holds hands so well with her personality. And before Dear Rouge, I was doing more acoustic singer-songwriter stuff because I grew up in Red Deer, Alberta. That's kind of all that I had seen in front of me.
Hmm.
And you kind of just like that's how you learn is what's around you, right? So when I was introduced to her and the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, I was like, this is incredible. This is what I'd like to do. And Drew totally was, you know, encouraging me in my personality needs to come out more in the music. And I felt that like I'm such a loud personality and natural nature that I was like this is needs to happen to get that energy out in music and on stage.
Hmm.
And it was just like a light bulb went off, like, this is what I want to do. And then from there, obviously, it comes down to the music. So we started just writing more. I grew up listening to kind of heavier music, which is funny also. Like, okay, so this is kind of a random deep cut for Christian kids out there, but I love this band called Thousand Foot Crutch.
I actually know that name, yeah.
And went on tour with them in my first band, which was not, I don't know how we got paired together. But I loved Thousand Foot Crutch. I loved POD. I loved this band called Pillar, like these
Hmm.
random bands that were in the Christian scene because that's how I grew up and loved that genre. But somehow ended up in this like acoustic random like kind of singer-songwriter vibe because I didn't see myself as a woman that could make that kind of music.
Hmm.
Anyways, so that's actually what I grew up like loving to listen to. When people ask me in interviews, I often think of like bands that everybody knows because I want to, associate with a lot of the public knowing of like bigger bands like Led Zeppelin or whatever, Pink Floyd. And of course, those bands are awesome, but I only found out about them like later on in my life. I actually grew up on like Christian rock bands actually. Um, but anyways, so when I heard Yeah Yeahs and I saw Karen O performing in a crazy, like loud way, I was like, oh, I can do that.
Hmm.
That's something that women can do, or whatever. And yeah, so a long, long answer, but started making music like we made, like I heard I had, and tongues, and I had so much fun performing it, and that kind of set us on our trajectory of like alternative pop rock band kind of genre.
Hmm. Now you were saying you were thinking it was about 10 years. I have written down 12 years as a band when we were doing the research
Okay,
here.
okay, okay.
So,
Everyone wants to be a little younger than they are, I guess, right?
but hey, that goes to show the staying power that you guys have had too.
Well, that's cool. I like seeing it like that. I feel like, you're always like fighting the clock a little bit with music, but I think we're kind of out of that where it's like if it's just good music, people will listen to it.
Hmm.
Whereas kind of earlier days, it feels like the music industry was like, oh, timestamp for sure, you're too old for this or something. But I think that is changing in a lot of ways.
Hmm. And there's definitely a lot of things nostalgically you can think back on, especially with another TikTok you had going through your outfits slash costumes throughout the years and kind of
Yeah.
reminiscing about things. Sadly, is now muted though because of the UMG kind of music strike.
I'm
I
okay with it though, because I want musicians to get treated a little bit better. It's like
for sure. Like there's the pros
I
and cons.
yeah, exactly. I want us to get our music out there, but I also want musicians to like get the rights for things that they should. Like that whole acting strike and all of that happening, I was like, but what about musicians? Like we don't get
Hmm.
any rights. Like I feel like our music just gets swiped all the time and everyone's cool with it. But anyways, go on.
Well, so I was more curious since you can't really hear anything in that now. I wanted to know
Yeah.
maybe some of your standout outfits, maybe the ones that
Oh,
spark
that's
that
cool.
memory of, oh man, I remember this show with this outfit, like kind of a really cool moment from that.
Tom, are you a fashion guy?
I mean, I don't wear sleeves, so I'm not really much of a fashion guy, but I can definitely appreciate,
Yeah, for
what goes into
sure.
that.
Well, okay, so very early on, I had this purple sequence kind of like robe type thing, and it was black spotted. It was almost like a Dalmatian thing, but instead of white, purple. And I got it at this like thrift store in like I think it was like Regina or somewhere like that. We were just anytime I'd see a Value Village or a secondhand shop, I'd be like, "Can we stop, please? Once in a lifetime opportunity." And the band would laugh at me so hard. Like it is because if you find something, it's like secret finders vibes. You'll never find like you'll never get it again. So that was one of those where I forced them to pull over, bought it, and then I wore it at our one of our first festivals in Toronto. The Edge put on a festival, and I wore it there. And I had bright red hair, and that was like the first time I was like this is a vibe. Like I'm gonna go for sequins.
Hmm.
Another one was Oshiega, this designer, Queen of Hearts. Her name is Amber, and she creates her own looks. And I had this one. Drew calls it my kite outfit because it was black and white stripes, and it just was like loud and big, and I performed, and I had like see-through iridescent looking boots on, and I it was just so much fun to like put that costume together. Those two are big standouts for me, I think.
I'm pretty
How did
sure the black and white is what you were wearing in Ottawa, the on the one
Oh,
here.
yes, that's right. That's
Mhm.
right. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
because
was
I
Our
have some
Lady Peace,
pictures of that.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Our Lady Peace. That was so fun.
yeah, that was a
Um,
good night.
yeah, and Bush too. That was really a random.
Yeah, it
It
was
was
kind
a
of
real
like
throwback.
a throwback night of some really great music of those kind of generational era things.
Yeah, Our Lady Peace was a band I'd listened to a lot growing up as well. So that was a real moment because I got to sing Naveed with Rain Maida on stage, and
Hmm.
you have those moments in your life where it's just a bit of a okay, if my 14-year-old self saw me now, one of
Yeah,
those.
like that if only moment, if only they knew.
Yeah, if only they knew about me, if only I could like yeah, it was really really wild.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So speaking of music, we talked a little bit. You have the new single coming out, Goon. What's the
hmm
story behind that one, or as much as you can tell since it's not released yet?
Yeah. Well, it comes out March 8th. We're so excited. It's fun to have music outset on the outset of Spirit because Spirit was definitely an album birthed in COVID, so not always happy to release music like that, but you got to do it. So
Hmm.
Goon coming out the gate is just so full of energy and excitement. I think that's like something we've always going back to the IAS thing. That's always what we wanted to do is make like fun, exciting music. So this is a track like that. And the story around it is we went to Paris, me and my friend Jacelyn, who is a musician as well. And we decided to take one of those scooters. I don't know if they do this anymore, but you can rent these little scooters and you just like use your Uber app and you can rent these like little whatever scooter things that you can take around town and you can
Hmm.
go as long as you want. And so at like midnight, our last night in Paris, we're like, let's go rip around Paris with these little scooters. And it was incredible. We went to all these amazing spots, obviously, like the Eiffel Tower, all these things, and no one was out. And we ended up at this bar, and it was like the last bar open at like 2 a.m. And these two random guys just like wouldn't leave us alone. Like they literally like flies. Like we just could not get them away from us. And I literally turned around and I was like, go away. Like I had to be like forceful. And probably they didn't understand because there was the language barrier there. They were French speaking. So, anyways, we ended up like shaking them off us and ripping off in our little scooters. But I had that in my head. I was like, that would be a good song. Like, how many times you experienced where someone, some situation, something in your mind won't leave you alone. Like it's a perpetual loop of
Hmm.
annoyance and you can't shake it and it just continues to pop up. I was like, that'd be a good song. And thinking of like kind of like a monster or a goon or some like so goon, but
Hmm.
also the little Easter egg of go on, kind of just we put them together and just named it Goon because of that. Because in the chorus I sing go on. It's a, like a lyric. And yeah, so that's the idea around the song, and I'm so excited because the music is just like it's just fun and edgy and easy to sing along with. It's gonna be so great to perform live. I think people are gonna really love it and associate with that idea. People just popping up, situations popping up that you wish you could just shake.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's had something like that, so it should ring home for someone in some sort of case.
Do you want to hear something crazy?
Sure.
When I was recording Goon, I was like, guys, I'm gonna go for a walk. And this was the first time, like in the studio, I was like, I just need some space. Usually we all just kind of stick together, but I was like really feeling like I need to get some air. And I go out, and there was a situation in my younger life where I worked with this producer who, like, naive girl producer, kind of vibe. He stole a
Mhm.
bunch of money and like made my life hell for years, and I almost quit music altogether. He was like sort of the pit of my story where I almost gave up. Um, I hadn't seen this person for like 20 years, and when I were recording this song, I leave for 10 minutes. I'm walking down Ossington and I hear like the voice of this person who I haven't seen for 20 years. And I like my gut kind of like clenched up, but I was just like, "What?" And it was very confusing. And then we crossed paths, like look like eyes, like we locked eyes. He was like on the phone, and we locked eyes and passed.
Hmm.
And like I I just burst out laughing. I just thought it was so wild because this person and I don't live in this like Toronto,
Okay.
and we passed each other on the street while I was recording this song in this random 10-minute window that I went for a walk.
It's like that classic movie moment where it's that kind of the spark of everything.
Literally, I was like, "Oh my gosh, does this need to be a movie? Like, does
Yeah.
this story like it's almost too, like the stranger than fiction statement
Yeah.
where it's too strange to be real, and so therefore it's like it's just I don't know. I've heard that statement a lot lately, and I think it's so applicable. It's just so wild when life does like a full bow on it like moment where you get like after that project that I did, Dear
Hmm.
Rouge began, and then like now I'm like 12 years down the road and I'm like passing the street. I don't know, I just had so many flashbacks. I was like, this is so wild.
It's like that
And
you couldn't make this up type of scenario.
yes. And like I don't know serendipity this is the right word for it, but I was just like it almost made me super grateful in a way too, just to have like experienced that lagoon of my life while I
Hmm.
was like recording the song. And I was just like, oh man, I wonder if other people have these experiences. I almost want to ask the internet, ask the fans, like if they've had an experience like that, or if they, I don't know, because I just feel like it's pretty rare to like have that happen to you.
Well, I'm gonna mark this time frame and we're gonna make a little clip out of this part specifically so that we could throw it out there.
That's great. I love that idea.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Like having that moment has got to be almost like a relief too. Now that you've gone through such a big thing and gone, worked your way up to where you are, having that kind of, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a cool moment almost of like reflection then after that. And like in a strange way, sort of gratitude towards like I think as artists and musicians and anybody doing this, it's like why did you start this in the first place? It's almost like a good like recalling that. But
Hmm.
usually we start good things out of bad situations. I'm
Yeah.
not sure why we are like that as human beings, but we're like, I've always wanted to be an artist, but I mean, I always thought I could do it. But after losing it in my mind, like through this situation where I lost it through like losing money, losing like my, I don't know, just lots of confidence and all of that. After I lost it was when I found it because I didn't need it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's so cool. And then like making art, the tortured artist thought is real because it's almost like when you have a trauma, it becomes your fuel and you
Yeah.
end up using it. So there's so much energy involved in like sadness and pain. Like if you can take it and make it great, it's like there's a reason why tortured artist thing exists because you have to be careful not to like almost yearn to be tortured so that you can use it for fuel.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
that fine line you have to walk.
Yeah, like I think some people intentionally blow up their lives. Like, well, whatever. I don't do that, but I can see why some people maybe would think that would work to like
Hmm.
create space for. But yeah. Anyways,
Hmm. Well,
I'm on
there's lots out
a
there
funny
that,
trail.
people do things differently for sure.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious, how do you think your music has evolved? Like, let's go back to 2015's Black to Gold and coming into the new stuff. How have you evolved musically coming up to this
Mm.
time?
Well, I think that's a great question because I feel like Dear Rouge has kind of always been a straddler kind of band between like not pure rock, not pure alternative, not pure pop. Like it kind of is like multi-faceted, multi-genre kind of sound. And so I think we've always played with the idea of going more pop and synth and then going more rock and alternative. And so I think we've evolved in our sound because we've kind of explored more of the pop landscape always with rock in there, but like maybe like a lighter version of our band.
Hmm.
And then kind of swung back to like this album is way more alternative, way more unhinged, way more kind of rock minded because we were hungry for that and loving seeing kind of some of these new bands coming out, like the Wet Legs and the but also going back like the B-52s and Elastica and some of these bands that like we were like this is a sweet sound. Like I think guitars are making a great comeback and we love guitars, so let's just like go full rock on this album, more alternative.
Hmm.
So I think we've evolved in just like kind of exploring those corners of pop and like smoother sounds, more like M83 kind of inspired, and then coming back to like the I Heard I Had version of Dear Rouge and Tongues and those bigger songs like that are harder side of our band. And then I would also say that like lyrically trying to be more vulnerable and using our story as as more of an inspiration rather than just the world around us and how we view the world. So I
Hmm.
think that's also evolved in us too, is just sort of more confidence to put ourselves in the limelight even more than we have and be more vulnerable with some of our personal story and struggles and things.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to how you personally grow as a musician because, you experience 10 million different things at any point in time, so it adds to everything.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think if you're not evolving, like my one business friend, he always says be different or be dead. And I think that's so true.
Mhm.
People are just gonna get kind of tired. So you gotta be adventurous and sort of, also that David Bowie thought of like, he says like, as soon as I'm scared, I know I'm on the right track.
Mhm.
He's got some quotes around that, and I think that's so true. Like when you feel like you can't do it is when you're on the edge of something new and exciting.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so yeah.
Yeah, speaking of, we talked a little bit about some of the newer music coming out, and I always ask fun questions near the ends of my interviews to pick your brain a little bit more. I'm curious of something that's on your go-to playlist that people might not expect that you're listening to.
Oh.
Like that guilty pleasure song maybe that you don't necessarily tell people about, but you really enjoy listening to.
Well, I know an artist that pops into my head right away. Not particular song, but I am like a very big Michael Bublé fan.
Okay.
I just think he's so fun and talented. And quick story, we were in Montreal and we were at Oshiega, and that the evening kind of concert, I wasn't like the bands that were playing that night. I wasn't super into, but my friend worked for Michael Bublé and got me tickets,
Oh,
and I was
nice.
like, does anybody in the band want to come with me? And nobody wanted to, just because they had Oshiega ready to go to. So I ended
Mhm.
up going by myself, ordering like a big bucket of chicken strips and fries and a beer, and sat there like 7 rows from the front and just like so happy. I ended up
Mhm.
giving my extra ticket to like a random girl, and she was with her parents and sitting like way in the nosebleeds, and she
Yeah.
ended up coming down with me, and it was such a good experience. So
Yeah,
I
I
would
love
say
Michael
Michael
Bublé.
Bublé. He's so good. He's such a great singer, and he's Canadian, and he just seems like a good hang. So
And he just
yeah.
makes it seem effortless just
Oh,
in throwing it out there and just being really good at everything he does.
after I went there, I was like, oh, I need better banter. Like I need to just be freer with my banter.
Mhm. Yeah,
Because
those
he just
guys
like
are
calls out,
pros.
yeah, yeah, very good.
Now, with new music coming out, do you have a favorite single that someone's released that you kind of went, "Wow, this is amazing"? Could be anyone under the sun, really.
Like a recent release.
Yeah, like, the most recent one you can think of that you were like, "Wow."
Oh,
Blown.
the new Bombay Bicycle Club album we just
Mhm.
listened to last night, so I don't know the name of the album, or like any information about it. I wish I had my phone with me, but we were having a friend over, and Drew threw it on, and I was like, "Wow, what is this? So
Mhm.
so good."
I
So
think
check
that's
that
actually in an email of mine somewhere because I get the new release emails all the time, so I think
out.
that's
Nice.
I recognize the name somewhere anyways.
Yeah, so go check out the new Bombay Bicycle Club album. Um, yeah, go and Tom, you can say the name and the what it is, because I gotta go after this. I'll go and look up all the info on it, because we just had thrown it on and it caught me right away. So very
Yeah,
good.
I'll make sure I'll note it in the description or something so they can find it easier.
Awesome.
Now, this is the my favorite question I ask everyone, and it's the one that's gonna make you think the most. What's one thing you think should be asked more in an interview that's not asked enough?
Hmm. Maybe like, where did you grow up?
Okay.
Like, what makes you, like, what's the starting point for you? Like, because maybe that's a big question, but I wonder, like, I would want to know, like, somebody's origin a little bit more. Like, why did you, like, who influenced you? I guess that's like a question that gets asked a lot, but maybe like, yeah, where did you grow up? And I think that says a lot about a person, um, because I think like that speaks to like culture and like topics that they'd write about, and so like maybe more like origin story kind of stuff.
And it's funny because I usually ask something similar to that at the start of interviews, but I completely changed it up for this one specifically because I brought on a new writer who helped me do some more research and I wanted to ask some different types of questions. And I thought, hey, why not right now? And but I usually ask like an early music kind of how did music enter your life, musical family, things like that early on.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually the first thing that came to my mind, but I kind of shrugged it off, but I do think it's a cool question, is like what are your parents like?
Yeah.
Because I almost wonder like people could go into that in a heavy way, or they could go into it in a joyful way, or they could go into it in a like they could say a lot or say a little.
Hmm.
Because, like, well, like if somebody's, for instance, if it's like somebody only had a mom, like single mom, or like if their dad's their hero or something, I think that's kind of a very interesting thing as well. But I always ask questions that I shouldn't probably. So I don't know if I'm the person to ask.
But I think when you're watching something like this and you're trying to learn more about the person behind the music, and there is things you like that you might want to know because now somebody watching this is gonna go back and listen to your music and be like, oh yeah, I could see where maybe this influence came from. Like it's more feeling behind the actual songs itself now.
Yeah. I think that's cool, and it's a cool question for you to ask an artist what they think somebody would want to, what they would want to be asked, or should
Hmm.
be asked more out there. I think that's really neat.
And it also helps me because quite honestly, I'm not always the greatest at picking questions out of the sky sometimes, and I
Yeah.
want to be a bit more unique. So when you give me something that's like I'm noting these questions down as I do these so I can add them to my repertoire a little bit more.
I also like funny questions like, what's your favorite food, or like things like that. If you could be a candy bar.
Yeah, actually,
I
those are
used to
fun
hate
too.
those questions, but now further along, I'm like, that's fun. I like that. I like that. Like one girl asked, like, if you would be an ice cream flavor, what flavor would you be? And I just thought it was cute.
Mhm. Well, so another one that I like to ask, which is actually next on my list, is who plays you and like you and your husband in the movie of your lives?
Oh my gosh, this is so weird that you're asking because we had a longtime friend come over last night, and they're actually he's actually in talks with like Matt Damon about his life,
Okay.
and they might make a movie about him. And we literally had this question like going like a legit conversation around this last night. Because,
Nice.
anyways, um, Drew, we always say would be Ewan McGregor.
Okay. I mean, I can see
Because
that. It
he's
works.
he's the best. He's just such a good actor.
Mhm.
And Eva Mendes, Drew says is would be me.
I mean, you know what though? I could see that too. You guys have what I would like to think is maybe a similar energy in how you do things. So
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know who would play you in a movie.
for me, the only thing that even comes remotely close to what I can think would be Action Bronson because we look so similar.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think we have a lot of the same mannerisms. Mind you, I don't smoke weed or anything like that. So that'd be a stretch for him to probably play that part. But
That's fun.
mhm. So back to the music a little bit. You played festival season last year,
Mhm.
pregnant, and
Yeah, yeah.
you're new parent now. How are you navigating, this year's festival season? I saw you already got booked for. I don't have it written down in front of me, but there's a couple things that I saw booked all
Yeah.
recently.
Well, it's gonna be more of a challenge for sure, but we have a lot of beautiful family members around where we live that want to be involved in watching our son. So we're stoked because like I think it's just an opportunity to have family come along and be a part of some of these really cool experiences with us. So yeah, we've got plans to like always have somebody with us when we go to a festival. And we're not slowing down. Like we definitely are like, oh, it's gonna be harder, but you know, we'll just have to bring someone with us. And
Mhm.
that's kind of been our thing. And definitely met a lot of musicians over the last little bit that, women who are like, I did it for years, and like Amy Milan from Stars was texting me all the things, and just it kind of has bonded me with a lot of women out there that have done it.
Mhm.
and there's more and more of them that have, which is really, really cool. Because I do think it needs to be a bit more normalized. And Drew and I have shared, like, we share the load, we share the burden of the harder stuff. Because Elliot's definitely a joy over a burden, but there's difficult times like no sleeping and things. But I mean, we're in a band. I feel like we like know jet lag, we know not sleeping, we know hauling gear. So having a kid is like very, very similar to this.
It's the parallel pathway, really. It's going down the
It,
same road, just with a different, outcome.
yeah, it's really been amazing and enriching to have him along. And then like playing shows, I was shocked. I was like, I felt great. I I don't know if it's adrenaline, but I also kind of felt like I could sing better. Like it's almost like my diaphragm was lifted and I had like more power. It was really cool actually. And I felt also empowered for the fact that I was being able to do that and encourage that and kind of have a mystery around it. Like early pregnancy, you felt like people were like, "Hey, wait, something
Hmm.
different about her."
Yeah. And I'm actually kind of in a similar boat. I have a year and a half old now, and
Oh,
I go
yay.
out to cover festivals, like, so I do photography, things like that also.
Yeah.
So navigating that, my wife wants to come with me at some points, but it's, do we bring the little monster with us when she's running around going crazy, or how do we do that? So I can totally understand the craziness that can happen with that, and having the family helping and all that stuff.
Yeah, you got to juggle it, but I think that that's like you kind of know going into it that's what it's going to be. And it's funny we've been out so much since Elliot was born, and people always ask us like, "How are you out? How are you out?" And literally, it's like our family members are. We have like many nieces and nephews that are like at the age that they can babysit. So
Hmm.
it's like it's awesome. And then parents, all the in-laws, like sister-in-laws, want to watch them. It's great. So
Yeah,
we're
my
we're
my sister is crazy about trying to
yeah,
babysit,
yeah.
so.
It's awesome. So
Mhm.
good.
Well, we don't have much time left because Zoom likes to be very picky with that stuff, so we'll do our last couple questions quickly here.
Sounds good.
What do you hope people take away from your music?
I feel like with our music, I want them to always sense the little line of optimism, the little weaving string of optimism through each song, and hope. I think we kind of have that in every topic that we're kind of covering is just like that feeling that things can get better kind of vibe.
Mhm.
And then honesty and probably joy, those things, hope, honesty, joy. I don't know if that's like a too light of an answer because
No,
we've
but I
got like,
think it should be light sometimes too.
yeah, I think like we always say our music is like grit and gloss, too, in its sound design and soundscape of it.
Mhm.
So, having that like the edgy side of it as well is in there. But topically, I would say, yeah, honesty, like vulnerability, hope, and joy.
That's a pretty good thing to take away from music for sure.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, I want that. I want that for people. It's good.
Mhm. And last but not least, are you happy?
Oh, um, yes, I think I'm happy. I think happy is kind of can be like a cheap word in that like, is it a sunny day? Is do I get like did I get my coffee this morning? Um, I'm not always happy, but I do feel like I'm always joyful in that I can be thankful for the ups and downs of my life, and I try to be thankful, and I think that makes me happy.
Mhm. And
So,
happy is something that's subjective. You have to work for being happy sometimes, and you have to always be doing something to kind of stoke that fire of happiness.
yeah, and I think it comes down to yeah, that gratitude and finding like the community and stuff that you love doing. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's the intentionality that you got to go after it in the ways that aren't cheap.
Yeah, that's a great way to leave that off for sure.
Nice.
So that's all I have written down here, and we've talked about About you, new music coming out. We have the single on March 8th. We have the new album coming out. We've got lots of music for the summer. Any final words of wisdom to leave for people?
Uh, Go out and do you. uh,
I mean, that's nice and to the point.
yeah, go out and do you. Can't do anything else but lean into who you are.
Mhm.
That's what we try to do with Dear Rouge, and that's what we want to encourage in other people. And one other thing is, um, dreams are meant to go after. So be pumped on the journey towards the dream, even if the outcome isn't maybe as you expected. I
Mhm.
think like the joy of journeying towards something you love is so enriching. So don't drop the dream.
That's perfect. I like that. Well, it was definitely great to get to sit down and chat with you. I know I was excited and got to pick your brain a little bit more and just see what makes you tick.
I really appreciate you and what you do over there, and thanks for having me on and for encouraging people to go listen to music. It's
Mhm.
it's it's rad. Keep
Well,
it
I
up.
hope we were gonna get to do this again. It's always nice to catch up with old friends at this point.
Yeah, exactly, Tom. Well, we'll stay in touch and looking forward to hearing what you think about the song.
For sure.
All
Right.
right.
Well, we'll sign off and you enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Bye now.
Bye.